It's the NFL Hangover. Dearness Johnson filled in admirably for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt Thursday. Browns won that game, 146 yards rushing, a touchdown. He had a couple catches as well. I guess the question here is, Pearce, will Johnson still be relevant when the studs are back?
No. Next question.
All right, Geoff, over to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Denver is not a very good team, as we're finding out. Yeah, it's a great performance if we still think Denver is good, which I did on Thursday. I no longer think that Denver has a good defense. So congratulations. When Chubb comes back, when Hunt comes back, it's their team. So, I mean, just don't ever think that if the Browns are wise, his trade value is never going to be higher. His stock is never going to be higher. Trade him now. I know there's not a lot of teams that need a running back, but maybe Carolina, maybe the Giants, maybe San Francisco. I take a third or fourth round pick from this guy, whatever you can get, because he's going right back to the bench.
So, Geoff, all the people that flock to the waiver wire for season long to pick this guy up can get ready to drop him promptly.
Oh, yeah. Put the Ernest on the trade block. I mean, the Ernest went to camp. Like, it's not happening again, right? Now, I like Pearce. I hope this guy cashes in somewhere, either in a trade or, like, with a contract next year. But as far as Cleveland goes, man, I mean, like, you couldn't think of a worse depth chart to try and hop over. I mean, you've got maybe one of the, like, top 3 elite rushers in Nick Chubb, and then you've got a fantastic all-around back in Kareem Hunt, who, you know, is very good in the red zone as well. So, no, I mean, look, they might work him in a little bit more as, like, a receiver or something just because they're kind of thin at that position. But Johnson isn't going to see a ton of usage. It's certainly not going to become, like, some three-headed monster unless the injury issues persist. But I don't think either guy is seriously banged up. So once Hunt and Chubb get healthy, yeah, you can pretty much cross the Ernest off the list for fantasy purposes for the rest of the year.
We've got a crack graphic staff here. If somebody could Photoshop some sort of Dearness Went to Camp movie poster, that would just be, I want that. I want to hang that in my home.
I mean, I'm still waiting, but yeah.
Titans handled the defending AFC champion Chiefs, of course, after a big win over the Bills, guys. Tennessee plus 800 to win the conference. That's still behind Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore. Does Mike Vrabel's squad deserve more love, Moose?
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, if you watch this show and you watched our preseason content, my pick to come out of the AFC was the Tennessee Titans. This team does not get the respect because they don't show up with the great defensive metrics, and nobody wants to pick them because of that. But there's no team, maybe outside of the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are obviously struggling right now, with a better collection of skill players in the NFL. And guess what? The Chiefs went to the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship, the last 3 years without a good defense. You don't necessarily need a good defense to win games. The AFC is wide open. We have seen the Titans smash the Ravens in the playoffs. We have seen the Titans beat the Bills at their peak. We just saw the Titans destroy the Kansas City Chiefs. What does this team have to do? This team should easily be the second favorite right now. I love this bet a lot more last week when it was like plus 1,400. But you know what? The fact that they're under the Baltimore Ravens and the odds, yes, this is still a great bet. Love it. Love them for the AFC Conference Championship win right now. The AFC, like I said, wide open in my opinion.
Pearce, it's kind of like they're just, one big Derrick Henry stiff arm to the rest of the NFL right now.
Jeff's right. They've got a lot of really good skill players, but the underlying metrics are not good. And outside of the skill positions, they're not that great of a team. They can win games. They have won games. The Buffalo win was nice, but they still let up a ton of points in that Buffalo game. And they probably should have. I mean, they were inches away from losing that game. Congratulations, they won. I'm not going to overreact to them beating a Kansas City team that seemed to have all kinds of holes all over the place. The problem for me is you have a secondary that struggled last season, is struggling this season, and they're injured. They've got the 21st run DVOA. Their offensive line is doing a great job run blocking. Derrick Henry is playing well. But I think there's question marks when it comes to pass blocking. Can Tannehill take this team deep in the playoffs? Is A.J. Brown going to stay away from the Chipotle for an entire season? Can Julio get back on the field? Let's see a couple more weeks before I get on board.
Here's my thing with the Titans quickly. If you can't stop Derrick Henry when it's nice out, how are you going to stop him when it's cold out? Simple.
Well, teams are figuring it out. They haven't won any Super Bowls with Derrick Henry.
True.
Listen, I know A.J. Brown has his issues with Chipotle. We welcome you as a sponsor here, Chipotle. Anytime Give me that gold card. I'm in. Let's talk more about the Chiefs, guys. They're still plus 650 to win their side of the bracket. No longer favorites to win the AFC West, though. Patrick Mahomes, he did clear concussion protocol. That's the good news, obviously. But the bad, no touchdowns in a regular season game for the first time ever here, Geoff? So is Mahomes, the Mahomes stack with Travis KELCE, with Tyreek Hill, is that no longer just a Sunday autoplay?
Okay, so let's break this down into two parts here. For fantasy purposes, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Use this as an opportunity to make to cash in on the people who are still skeptical that the Chiefs aren't this great offense for fantasy purposes. Yes, Tyreek Hill is still the most explosive weapon in the NFL. Travis KELCE is still the best possession tight end receiver in the NFL. It's just they've been not as efficient on offense. Mahomes has had some bad turnover luck, injuries, etc. Everything has hit this team at the same time. They also have a defense who just keeps putting them in holes. And if you do that long enough, the bad turnovers will happen. Things will look bad. But yeah, the explosiveness is still there. So for fantasy purposes, not much has changed. Maybe you're going to see a little bit more variability until this team gets a little bit better on the defensive side. But bad defensive teams often leads to great fantasy performances anyway. So I'm not even sure we should care about that. From a real life perspective, this feels like a team that is going to have a hard time turning it around in time. Now it's a 17-game season. I'm not writing them off completely, but we've seen them get dusted now by two other AFC three. Well, the Ravens didn't really dust them by two other AFC top teams. And again, this isn't a team who's probably projecting for a bye or anything. Are they going to hold up through 3 playoff games? I don't think the defense is going to get there this year. So I'm not really interested in them in betting. Like I said, I'd rather go to the bigger odds on the Tennessee Titans right now.
Pearce, how are you looking at it?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs have some serious problems. We probably need somebody who understands the X's and O's a little bit better to figure out what is going on with this team. But something is way off. Maybe, the acquisition of Orlando Brown in the offseason from the Ravens, they moved him over to their offensive line. Typically, he was a run blocker, not necessarily a pass blocker. You look at Mahomes, though, his pressure rate is about the same as it's always been. You look a little deeper, though, and his pocket time is a half a second slower than where it's been career-wise. 1.9 seconds in the pocket. He's typically at 2.5 or higher. So maybe there's something there. His on-target percentage is lower than it's ever been. There might be something going on with his offensive line and Patrick Mahomes. Again, I'd like to see a really, football genius break it down. But I would be concerned moving forward.
Well, let's go to a football genius. Moose, it's right back to you. We expected Ja'Marr Chase to do big things, obviously, as a rookie when he was drafted to reunite with Joe Burrow, the college connection. But holy cow, man, 201 yards, a score for the Bengals over the weekend. And it's not like he isn't doing something in that same vicinity every single week. He's unbelievable. Cincinnati first in the AFC North after beating Baltimore. So where does the Burrow-Chase combo rank for you among fantasy QB and wideout pairings?
Oh, it's right up there. I mean, you probably Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, because that just seems like, they've eaten the star from Mario Brothers and they're just invincible right now. But Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Burrow, you could argue is next. I mean, everybody, when this pick was made, everyone was like, oh, they should have gone O-line. I trust me, I had my doubts as well if this was the right pick. But my God, this is why you go after talent, right? I mean, and I think the thing about the Bengals and Ja'Marr Chase you have to understand is the best comparison I could probably make is Antonio Brown. This is a team that isn't afraid to give Ja'Marr Chase the ball. They're using him on screens. They're throwing to him downfield. They're not using him as a gadget player, just saying, okay, kid, we're going to give you 5 targets. Here's your 5 plays for the week, and then we're just going to run the ball with Joe Mixon. No, this offense is built around Ja'Marr Chase and his abilities, and it's really smart by Zach Taylor. So, this is right up there, top 3 in terms of fantasy potential. And again, I don't see this story stopping at all because the way the Bengals have come out and used them so far, you've seen the results. Over 20 yards per reception. We're through 6 games here. We're through 7 weeks. This isn't a fluke or anything. This guy's absolutely explosive. And again, he's found himself in the right situation, a coach that isn't afraid to unleash his talents or use him in every different type of formation. So love this story. It's definitely right up there in the top 3 stacks for DFS right now.
Professor, back to you. You top 3 for you as well? You in that same company?
They're not Rodgers and Adams yet, but the fact that I'm even mentioning Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams says a lot. We've got a second-year quarterback and a rookie wide receiver in the same conversation. It's pretty amazing. Ja'Marr Chase has already shown that he can break these big plays. But then this week, against Baltimore, this touchdown, that 70-yard touchdown, he broke 3 tackles, and it was against one of the best cornerbacks in football. What else does this guy need to do? He's only getting better every week, and we're also seeing Burrow get better every week. He can hit the big pass. The offensive line play is amazing. He had I think a 3% pressure rate last week. He almost threw no bad passes. If the offensive line continues to play that well, they're going to be unstoppable. And even Burrow, his on-target percentage this year, it's actually down from last year. So we might see a little more regression or positive regression, see him improve in form of hitting on target. So I don't think we've seen anything yet.
You guys have both acknowledged the Rams, the Packers, Tom Brady, obviously, and the Buccaneers. We know how good they are, and he's coming off 600 career NFL regular season passes now. The Cardinals with a win yesterday, like those other clubs. Cards at 7-0. Is there a leader in that pack, Pearce?
Well, we didn't see anything yesterday. They all played nobodies. If anything, maybe we could slot Los Angeles down. They didn't cover the spread against Detroit. I mean, I know they won the game. They did everything they needed to do, but everybody else covered the spread. And then on Thursday, we'll get to see Green Bay versus Arizona, so that will help us clear the picture out a little bit further. But for now, maybe you move Los Angeles down. On Thursday, we'll get to see Green Bay and Arizona, and Friday morning, then we'll have a better idea.
What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm looking at it the same way. Like, I don't really put much. I mean, the Bucs slamming the Bears. I mean, we kind of knew this was going to happen. Their defense was just too much. Matt Nagy has no creative game plan there for Justin Fields. So no shock there, right? I think the big thing is that, like, the Rams struggling to cover the spread. It's a little significant because we've seen the Rams get exposed. Like the Cardinals exposed the Rams. You can run on this team a little bit too. DeAndre Swift proved that. So I think that the Rams, for me, as well as like Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are playing, this is a team that, to me, has now kind of been exposed twice. Let's not forget the Packers are covering and winning games here without Jaire Alexander. Maybe they add someone on defense as well at the trade deadline. I know Green Bay never does that, but let's just dream for a second. Regardless, they're going to get healthier on defense. I think that's a significant thing. I still give the Packers a lot of respect here because of what they're doing without their best defensive player. And again, like Pearce mentioned, we're going to find out, like, what is this team really made of Thursday? Because if they stop the Cardinals and they don't even have their best defensive player, man, that's a significant win.